Welcome back. In the previous class, I was discussing about the convergent sequence as well as Cauchy sequence. And based on these two definitions, we have developed the concept of Banach space. So in Banach space, if we have Cauchy sequence, then we are able to talk about convergent sequence also. It means that we have criteria of the limit, means all Cauchy sequence is going to converge to some point in that particular space, and that is nothing but the limit. And if you remember the development of the calculus during your high school, at that time what we have observed that once we have notion of limit, then I can talk about the continuity of the function in one dimensional space. And how basically we are talking about the continuity? We are talking about the left hand limit, we are talking about the right hand limit, and after that limit at some point, and after that we are telling that if all three limits are equal, then some function in one dimensional space is called continuous function. Otherwise, it is not a continuous function. But here, what we have learned during our previous lecture, that I can talk limit in terms of the epsilon ball. So what we are telling that, suppose that if I have some sequence, and if that sequence is going to converge to some point in that particular space x0, then for every epsilon I have exist some kind of number such that that sequence is going to converge to that particular limit. So now I am going to talk or formulate definition of continuity in terms of the epsilon ball. Since in order to talk about continuity, I need basically two spaces. So in one space I have one sequence, and that is called domain space, and after that we have another space that is called codomain space. So there also I have corresponding sequence. So what basically we are now discussing, we are discussing like this, that I have basically I have some function, and suppose you can take simple function from real space to real space. So I have certain kind of space here, and after that I have certain kind of space, and this is the function f. And suppose in this space we are telling that domain or input, you can interpret domain or input, and after that corresponding to each input I have certain kind of output. So I am talking about codomain, and if I specify the input, then I can also talk as a range, or I am talking about the output, because what we have learned during the first part of this course, that function is nothing but some kind of machine which will takes input, and after that that is going to generate some kind of output. So if I have to talk about the continuity, then I am going to generate some kind of sequence here, in this particular space. And suppose that if I am talking about this sequence, something like xn, and corresponding to this, if I will put xn, then I am going to generate some kind of output, that is fxn. So this is notion of the sequence. You can also write like this, to 1 to infinity, or I have already told you that people are also writing like this in order to distinguish between set and sequence. So now I have sequence like this. So corresponding to each sequence, I have corresponding sequence in output space. And here, if I will talk about the convergence, because I have to talk about limit, left hand limit, right hand limit, and after that I have to talk about the limit of that point. And somehow what we have observed, that limit is directly related to the convergence. So if I have convergent sequence, then if we have convergent sequence, then we have idea of limit, and in more generally, if my space, whatever space I am talking here, if that is non-linear space and that is complete, so if I have Banach space, in this particular space every Cauchy sequence is convergent, so we have limit. So we have idea of limit in this space, because every Cauchy sequence is convergent, and based on this limit, now I am able to talk about the continuity. So, and in order to talk about the convergent sequence or Cauchy sequence, what we have observed, that in that non-linear space we have notion of distance. If I have notion of distance, then only I can talk about the convergence. It means that I am only able to talk about the limit. Due to that reason, what we are telling, that the notion of distance in a non-linear space enables us to define the continuity, because in order to define the convergence I need the notion of distance, and same kind of using that limit I am going to talk about the continuity. Due to that reason I am writing this kind of statement. So basically, what is the core idea, that I have some space where every Cauchy sequence is convergent. So, and basically in order to capture this kind of property, I have the notion of norm in non-linear space. Similarly, if I will talk about the metric space, then I have notion of metric, and based on that I can also able to talk about the limit. So I can able to talk about continuity in metric space. I can talk about the continuity in non-linear space. And I have already told you that most of time we are dealing with the non-linear space. So I will sometime I will talk about nonlinear space, and after that, if I have to do more generalization, then I talk about the metric space. So before going to the higher dimensional space, I will start from the one dimensional space, and in whenever we will talk about the some function in one dimension, it means that we are assuming that function basically mapping from real number to the real number. So same kind of things here you are able to find that. I'm talking about I have some kind of function which map from real line to real line, means if I will give real data, then we are in one dimensional real data, then we are going to generate some kind of real data. So basically that is mapping from same space to same space, this function. And I am going to talk about the continuity of this particular function. So this is topic from the real analysis, where we are talking about the continuity. In previous class we have already seen that how to talk about the convergence in one dimensional space. So similarly here I am going to extend that kind of concept for higher dimensional space. So what we are telling that definition is a real function f from R to R is continuous at a point x0. So what basically we are telling talking like this. So now since I have one dimensional space, so I can picturize like this. So I am going to take picture, and that is like this. I have one dimensional space, and after that this is going to map to another real space. So this is real, and again this is real, and I am going to map from here to here. So I have f, and I am going to talk about continuity about some point. Suppose this point is x0. So what we are telling that if x0 is the limit point, it means that I have certain ball in this particular place. So and whenever I have sequence, that sequence is going to converge to x0. So corresponding to this x0, so we are characterizing that at a x0, if I have to talk about the continuity at x0, then we are telling that if for every epsilon, so I can first see the epsilon ball, and here you can see that if you see this relation, basically now I am going to talk about this relation. So epsilon ball is somehow related to the output. So and if you see this point fx and fx0, so corresponding to x0, basically now here I have certain point, that is fx0, and I have some ball. So I have this kind of ball, and in one dimensional ball is nothing but some kind of open ball I am talking. So in one dimensional space, ball is represented by line. I have already told you that ball may be of any kind. So first what I am telling that this ball, and suppose the radius of this ball is epsilon, means if I have some sequence like fxn, so that is going to converge at this point fx0. And so we are telling that now you can first fix the any epsilon ball, means output ball, because this space is output and somehow this space is input. Similarly I am talking about domain and codomain. So if for every epsilon, there exists some kind of delta. So basically by fixing this, I am going to see this. So I'm going to see some kind of reverse function and inverse function. So we are talking about the inverse function, and we know that in order to how to calculate inverse. And after that, in this way we are talking about the another ball that is called delta ball. So basically this is the delta ball. So now let us again come to the definition part. So we are telling that a function f map from R to R is continuous at point x0. So in order to talk about the continuity at x0, first I have to fix the output ball, and corresponding to that output ball, by taking inverse, I have to talk about the input ball. And after that, what we are telling that this x minus x0 less than delta. So we can also interpret in terms of convergence that for sufficiently large natural number n, if this relation will satisfy, then whatever xn, sequence xn, that is going to converge to the x0. So that is inherent here and somehow hidden here. So we are telling that if that sequence will converge here, then automatically in this space I have another ball and that sequence is going to converge here. So in this way we are talking about the continuity, and somehow if you see carefully that we are talking about some kind of ball. So if we are telling that output is bounded, then corresponding to input is also bounded across some small neighborhood. In that way we are defining the continuity in terms of epsilon and delta. So, and if function is continuous about x0, then for every epsilon it is possible to show there exists a delta. And if we are unable to show, then we are telling that function is not continuous. So this is definition in one dimensional space. And now I hope that you are able to understand the connection between the continuity and convergence. Now I have written like this. Thus, continuity of a function f at x0 is the property that the value of function f at point close to x0 is close to the value of f at x0. So in another way, what we are telling that if some function is continuous, then if I shrink this ball, then automatically this ball is going to shrink. So finally, if my output is bounded, then we can also assume that input, whatever input I am going to provide, that is also bounded. So in this way, we can also, using this definition of continuity, we are able to talk about the boundedness across some point x0. Due to that reason, continuity has several nice application during the definition of stability. Because if you remember the previous class, at that time we are talking like this. We are, for particularly for the linear system, what we are talking that if I have certain system, then system is said to be stable if I have bounded input and I have certain kind of bounded output. And if you replace the system by some kind of function, and we already know that another interpretation of this system is also or machine. So here I have machine or function, then what we have observed that input across some point x0 is bounded, and that implies that fx minus fx0 less than epsilon. So in this way, I can also interpret that if function is continuous, then bounded input will give bounded output. That is the another interpretation, and that is automatically come from the above definition. So somehow, whenever we are designing some system, and if I have to talk about the boundness across this limit x0, then we have to create that system as a some kind of function. So almost all machine, whenever we are defining, that will satisfy the property of function due to this reason. And most of time we are talking about continuous function, but I am not telling that if machine belongs to some kind of discontinuous function, then this property will not hold. So at that time we have to do separate analysis. But if function is continuous about x0, then I can talk about the boundness about x0. That only I can claim using this definition. And now, if we understood this definition in one dimensional space, then it is possible to extend same kind of definition for the higher dimensional space. But before going to the higher dimensional space, first I am trying to see, using one example, I will show you that how to calculate the epsilon and delta ball. So due to that reason, quickly we will come to the one example, then you are able to understand the calculation of the ball. So I am taking the example, and we are telling that we are going to show that I have some function fx, and again I have one dimensional space 2x square plus 1 for x belongs to R, and I am going to prove that f is continuous at x0 belongs to R using epsilon delta property. We are telling that this property as a epsilon delta property. So let us try to start from the definition. So from the definition, it is obvious that in order to prove this, I have to show that let x0 be in R, and I have to assume some epsilon, because we are talking about for every epsilon, and whenever we are talking about epsilon, then we are talking about the output ball. So we want to show, and what is our output ball? Because if I have some function fx, then if I substitute that function inside the, if I will take some point in domain, then corresponding to domain I have some kind of codomain. So basically I have to talk about this fx minus fx0, and this is less than epsilon because this is our output ball, and I have to show that this will true provided x minus x0, that is the input ball, is sufficiently small and sufficiently small means I am telling that there exists some certain kind of delta ball less. So create some additional space less than some ball, that is that ball we are telling that less than some delta. So basically now we can observe that basically from output ball I am trying to calculate the input. So we are doing the reverse process, and here why I have used the absolute value, because we are just one dimensional space. But if I have to talk about the continuity in higher dimensional space, at that time in place of absolute value I have to use the notion of the norm. So we will see that kind of things in the next part of this lecture. So basically that is 2x square minus 2x0 square, and I can further write like this: x minus x0 multiplied by x plus x0. And now you can see that I am able to get our desired term, and our desired term, whatever desired term we are getting, that is here, that is x minus x0. So somehow now we need the following. Basically we need to get a bond for x minus x0, because I am going to use x minus x0 because I know that x minus x0 is delta. So I need the bond for x plus x0 basically, that, and I have to make sure that that will not going to depend on x, that does not depend on x, because we are talking about the continuity about x0. So we are not sure about the x, but we are telling that there exists some x such that this relation will satisfy. So with respect to with any x which is very close to x0, I have to find the condition on this bond x plus x0, and we have to make sure that that is not going to depend on x. And if my epsilon ball is larger, then I can hope that there exists some kind of delta ball which is again some more higher. Due to that reason we can able to take this kind of further, I am able to use the inequality. So we can able to see like this. We notice that if x minus x0 is less than 1, because what we are observing that for every epsilon, so if epsilon ball is very large, so I can vary the delta ball. Due to that reason I am assuming that suppose that x minus x0 is less than 1 I have taken, but you can take any finite value. So and then result will come in terms of that finite value. So most of time whenever we are calculating the bond, we are seeing with respect to ball of unit radius, and after that we are telling that okay, if this will scale out by delta or n, then what is effect on the output ball, then we can able to see this limit mod x is less than x0 plus 1, and using this I am able to calculate the bond on x plus x0 because that is our main goal. So basically that is less than, by inequality of absolute value I can further write like this. So that is nothing but 2x0 plus 1. So finally what happens that I am able to generate some kind of bond in terms of the only x0 because I have to talk about the continuity about the x0, and this will true provided we are assuming that input ball x minus x0 is less than 1. So under this condition only this particular bond is true. So we have to always take care about this. Now what we have to do, we have to somehow rearrange this above calculation, and after that we have to show the relationship between epsilon and delta. So to arrange for, now after putting this bond x minus x0, and now we know that bond of x plus x0 is given like this, and that is less than the output ball, and this implies that x minus x0, that is the input ball, that is epsilon by 2 and 2x0 plus 1. But we have another, in order to drive this we have do the another assumption. And what is assumption? Assumption is like this. I am assuming that this bond is true only if this is going to hold at the same time. So in order to calculate the condition, or in order to calculate the delta ball, we have to take care about these two conditions, and due to that reason what we are writing that we, by keeping in mind of the both condition, I can able to calculate delta, that is the minimum of either one and either this value, because I have to take care about the both condition, and if I will select the minima then obviously both condition will true. So in this way I am able to show that for every epsilon there exists some kind of delta. So function is continuous at x equal to x0. So for each and every problem you have to do this kind of exercise in order to talk about the epsilon delta continuity, and this is little bit involved process. Now if you understood these calculation, so for this calculation I am just talking about the one dimensional space. So one dimensional space we have defined the addition and multiplication in the classical way to define the vector space, and after that in place of norm I have used the absolute value. Now what I am going to do, the whatever definition of continuity for the function between two metric space or non-linear space, that is the generalization of above means definition for the real function. So now just you have to replace that particular absolute value by either norm in case of non-linear space, by metric in case of metric space. So let us come to the definition, and I have already told you that most of time I'm going to talk about the norm linear space. So due to that reason, I have just talk about the norm. I have started with the norm linear space in order to define the next definition, means continuity in higher dimensional space. So in order to talk about the continuity in higher dimensional space, again I am going to take two balls, and here I have one ball, and here I have another ball, and here I have a space. Suppose that input space is x and output space is y now. So this is, I am assuming that this is linear space or no, and in this space I am going to define some norm. So due to that reason, we are using this kind of subscript to denote that is norm in this space, and in this space I am again going to define another norm, that is y. So either these two norm you are able to, you have flexibility, you can take any norm here, but result remains the same, because convergence in finite dimensional space does not depend on the choices of norm. Due to that reason, you are free to choose, and after that this is function. So I have one space here, and I have another space here, and again what I will do, suppose that if I have to talk about the continuity of this particular function x0, then I am going to create some kind of ball about this output. So I am going to create some kind of output ball here, and radius of that is epsilon, and we are telling that corresponding to this output ball there exists some kind of input ball of delta. If we will do some inverse function, so arrow is in this direction, so that is f inverse, then I can tell that for every epsilon there exists some kind of delta. So in this way we can talk about the continuity. So again, if some quantity is bounded here in this input side, then I can also talk about the boundness in output side across some point. And in order to define the boundness, I am going to take the help of the norm. In nonlinear space, in metric space, I am going to take the help of metric. So let us now come to the formal definition. So definition of continuity is now like this. So we are telling that some function from, I have this space, so I am defining this space as an input space and this as a norm. Similarly, I have output space, and I have to talk about the some, and I have defined function from one space to another space like this. Then f is said to be continuous at this point if for every epsilon, means first we are fixing the output ball, and after that using inverse function we are telling that there exists some kind of input ball, and you can see that is function of epsilon at as well as x0. So in previous example, whenever we are calculating the size of delta ball in one dimensional space, also you are able to see that here in this particular place, whatever delta, so in this delta I have automatically whatever function that is coming here, that is function of epsilon as well as x0. So due to that reason, in definition particularly I am going to mention this, that whatever delta ball that may be function of epsilon or x0, such that this relation is going to hold. And here basically I have already told you that I can define norm in different way in x space or y space. Due to that reason, we are taking this kind of flexibility. So we are telling that if x minus x0 is less than delta, then I can always give guarantee that fx minus fx0, that is less than the epsilon. And after that, here we are just talking about the continuous function about some point. Now I can talk about the continuous for all x, provided the above relation is going to hold for all x. So it means that I can take this x0 as any arbitrary value. Then I can talk about the continuity of the whole space. And finally, we have another term that is called uniform continuity. So we are telling that f is uniformly continuous if for every epsilon, again I will select the output ball, there exists a delta, and we are telling that this delta ball is now just function of epsilon, that is no longer function of the initial condition x0. So that is the difference between the definition of continuity and uniform continuity. So in case of continuity, this delta ball should be function of the some point x0 or function of the some space. But in case of uniform continuity, that delta ball is just function of epsilon. And most of time whenever we are dealing with the practical problem, at that time we assume that input ball is just function of output ball, that will not depend on the choice of the any initial point or any initial space. Due to that reason, in practical scenario, the concept of uniform continuity is very important. So this is means for practical purpose we are using this kind of definition. So basically let us just highlight this. In this way you are able to remember the utility. So practical purpose and difference between continuity and uh, uniform continuity is that delta ball, whatever delta ball, that is just function of epsilon, not function of x0. That is the difference between continuity and uniform continuity. So before going to the next part of the discussion, I am going to give you some kind of real example such that you are able to further able to appreciate the definition of the continuity. So because what I found that many students have problem with the epsilon delta definition of the continuity, because what they have already learned the definition of continuity during their school time, that some function is continuous if left hand limit, right hand limit, and limit at that point is equal. But suddenly if epsilon delta definition comes into picture, then they are not able to correlate with the real situation. So I am going to take one real life example. So suppose that I have some set that I am telling that x is a set of ingredient or input. So I have certain kind of function f, and I want to create some kind of output, or so I have input as a x and output as a y. So if I am putting x, then we are going to generate y. So suppose that you can think in terms of the manufacturer and consumer. So the manufacturer knows to get y, he needs the input x by applying a process f. So here what happens, here some manufacturer is sitting here, and first they know the output of the market, and based on that output they have set one process, and they are going to give some kind of input x such that they are able to fulfill this demand. So first they identify the demand, means they are identifying the output side, and based on that output side they are going to set some kind of machine such that if they will give some input, then they are able to get same kind of output. So due to that reason, first we are fixing the output ball, then we are talking about the input. That is, and same kind of things you can observe inside the definition also. For every epsilon is or the output ball, we are talking about the delta. And most of time this output has some kind of tolerance level, because manufacturer is not basically knowing the exact consumer, means how much amount they are going to consume. So always they are guessing, so they are guessing output with some kind of approximation. So due to that reason I have certain kind of ball. So in order to produce that kind of tolerance, we have to again fluctuate this input also. So due to that reason, we are telling that corresponding to in each output there exists some kind of input, and if input is bounded, then we are going to hope that output is also bounded. So in that way we are interpreting the definition of continuity. When I will come to stability, again I will give you the another interpretation of the continuity, because if you understood the continuity, somehow you are able to understand the stability. Because continuity, and I am talking about the uniform continuity, so at that time what we have seen that basically uniform continuity means continuous in some space. So if something input is bounded in that space, then we can also talk about the whatever output we are getting, that is also bounded. Now let us come to the next part of this lecture. So what we have observed that during our the school time, I have already told you that we are interpreting continuity in terms of limit. So we have to see the relation. So in order to show that relation, I have taken the general space such that now you are able to familiar with different kind of space. You have non-linear space where we have set with operation. Suppose if you remove the operation, then you have just set, and at that time you have to define the distance in some different way, that is called metric. So due to that reason, in this particular place I have taken the uh, I have I have basically taken the two metric space. So this x and y is set, and I am not talking about the operation, otherwise this is converted to the linear space, and this dx and dy you can interpret as a norm in that at that time. But here I am talking to just the metric space. Again I can talk about the continuity like this. So somehow we are telling that if output, we say that output will tend to some value y0 provided x is tending towards x0. So somehow in form of limit I can able to write like this, because whenever we are talking about continuity, at that time we are talking about some kind of ball, and we are telling that for every epsilon ball, means output ball, there exists some kind of delta ball, such that if this relation, and this is the definition of convergence also. So due to that reason I am able to talk about the limit. And after that, if we are telling that something is converges to x0 for large n greater than, if I will put n greater than equal to n both side, then I am able to talk like this, that this is converged to x0, and same that implies that this function in another space or another metric space y, that is going to converge to the y0. And same kind of thing in more general way, most of time what happens that I have some subset. So suppose that I have bigger space is x, and inside that if I will take the smaller space d, and that is nothing but the domain. We are talking about the domain. So I have suppose some function, and this is the bigger version, and I am just, if I will just consider this, so corresponding to the another space, that is space y, and this is x. Now if I will concentrate on this region, then corresponding to this region I have this region. So and this region I am going to denote by d. So mathematically we are going to take capture like this. So again I can tell, generalize in same way, that if I have some limiting point, that is x0 sitting here, so at the same time I have fx0 is sitting here. So in that way also we are able to see the connection between the limit and the continuity. So a function f map from x to y, where x may be nonlinear space or metric space, then I am able to define the limit in the output space like this, meaning that the limit of fx as x, if x is tending towards x0, then there exists f, and that is fx0. So second point, what we are telling, that there is a useful equivalent way to characterize continuous function on metric space in terms of the sequence, because whenever sequence comes into picture, then automatically we talk about the limit. So we are telling that there exists some kind of equivalence. So due to that reason, now one new definition comes into picture, that is called sequentially continuous. So a function fx ten x map from a space x to y. Here x you can consider as a metric space or non-linear space, that doesn't matter. So that is called sequentially continuous at x belongs to x, because we have to take some kind of limiting point. If for every sequence, so now you can generate some sequence xn, because if I will talk about the continuity of whole space, then I have to take arbitrary point, and for each arbitrary point I have exists some kind of sequence. So we are talking about all sequence that converges to x in x, then automatically we can tell that the sequence fxn, that is converges to the fx. So in this way we are telling that if this kind of result is going to hold, then that function is sequentially continuous. So somehow we are making the relation between the continuity and the limit using the sequence. So now come to the next proposition. Proposition means we are stating some kind of mathematical statement, and after that we are proving that mathematical statement. So we are telling that x and y be the metric space. So a function f from x to y is continuous if and only if it is sequentially continuous. So if something is sequentially continuous, then I can able to talk about the continuous, means that function is continuous in that space, or vice versa. If some function is continuous, then obviously that is sequentially continuous. So what is meaning of this proposition? That if we are able to understand that there exists some kind of limit in some space, then that function is continuous. Limit means I'm talking about left hand limit, right hand limit, and limit at that point, and after that we are talking about all are equal also. So then we are able to talk about the continuity at that point. That is the meaning of this proposition. So in order to show this, I have written the detailed proof such that you are able to understand that how to write proof if, and here you can see that we are talking about if and only if. It means that we have to prove in both way. So first we have to show that if function is continuous, then that is sequentially continuous, and second we have to prove that something is sequentially continuous, then that is also continuous. So suppose if function f is continuous at x, then I can talk there exists some kind of sequence that is going to change tending towards x. So same kind of things I can capture using epsilon and delta. So we are telling that let epsilon is given means output ball is given, then I can choose a delta input ball such that, and we have already seen this kind of things. So due to that reason we are telling that if function is continuous, and if I just incorporate this argument that n greater than equal to n means that natural number, then I can tell that that function is sequentially continuous. So from continuity I can talk about the sequential continuity. Now let us prove the converse. So in order to prove the converse, what we are telling that we are assuming that first we are assuming that something is sequentially continuous, then that is also continuous. So one way of proof is that you can assume that if f is discontinuous, then it is not sequentially continuous. So same thing, either you can prove that something is sequentially continuous, then there they result some kind of continuity, and if you apply not operator, then proof is like this: if f is discontinuous means not continuous, then that f is not sequentially continuous. So if f is discontinuous at some point, then we can tell that there exists some kind of output ball, and there exists some kind of sequence such that here I am characterizing in terms of output ball, and this output ball is always greater than equal to epsilon, then sequence xn is converged to x, but fxn does not converge to x because we can see here that I have this kind of relationship. So in this way we are able to show that if function is not continuous, then that is not sequentially continuous. So now let us conclude the today's lecture. So what we have seen that due to the notion of distance in metric space or non-linear space, I am able to generalize the continuity from one space to another space by the help of norm or metric. So with this discussion, I am going to close the today's lecture.